everybody. Welcome to Most Excellent Entertainment. I am your host, Keith. And with me this week, we have an aspiring screenwriter from Ohio, but she's so much more than that. She has a Bachelor of Science in Fashion. She's done quite a bit of traveling to try to achieve her dreams and work towards her goals. And I am really, really happy to welcome Mya Davis to the show. Thank you for appearing. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to talk with you today, and it's a pleasure. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet everyone.
That's awesome. One thing I do want to do too is thank you for your patience with me. I've been sick for a little over a week, and I had to reschedule this interview. And I've never done that before. This is the first time in over a year. So I appreciate that so much.
Yes, of course. I'm glad you're feeling a little better.
Thank you. Yeah, at least well enough to do this.
Yeah.
Um, so I think as I was researching your history and kind of looking at the different things that you've done, one of the things that struck me, like I said in the beginning, you have a degree from Kent University. Um,
Yes, state.
yeah, Kent State, and it's a bachelor's of science in fashion, which I didn't even know that was a thing. Um, and I would just a lot of people when they get into the creative uh, I'm sorry, creative enterprise, things of that nature, they kind of just dive in. I've had so many guests on here who are just like, well, I knew I was good at it, so I went out and found a mentor, and I just tried to get into the industry. What was it that made you decide to go the route of getting an education and formal training in fashion?
Yes, of course. Honestly, I felt like I wanted to go to college. I just wasn't necessarily sure what I wanted to major in when I first started looking for schools. I always knew that I was interested in film. I always knew that I really had a personal style that really made me happy. I feel like fashion is kind of like a language, a universal language that kind of like tells people exactly where you're at in life. Sometimes that's a negative thing because we have our down times, we have our low times, and sometimes our fashion can reflect that. But I also feel like it does reflect so much more, and that really interested me in high school. I went to private schools growing up, so I really had to wear uniforms majority of my life. So I felt like this, like when high school finally came about and I went to a public high school, I finally got to explore fashion and figure out what my personal style was. So when I found out that Kent State University had a school of fashion and they had a fashion merchandising degree, I was genuinely really excited. And I felt like that was where I wanted to kind of rest myself for my learning. But kind of like you said, a lot of people do not go this route. A lot of people do not go to school first, which is totally fine. They still find success. But I genuinely felt like I really wanted to be trained in my industry and also have that experience of just like really hitting the books and knowing how to research if I ever wanted to do something like that in the future. So I honestly just saw it as like a stepping stone to kind of get me the tools and the training that I needed to be successful in the corporate world as well as by myself.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you always had an interest in making films.
Yes.
What was the decision to go for fashion as opposed to like a film school?
Yes, of course. Actually, like this sounds terrible, but it was all about the scholarships. Kent State was kind enough to give me a scholarship to go there. So I actually got accepted into Howard University, which is an HBCU. I got accepted into their film program. So I was planning on going there, to be honest. And I ended up not getting any money offers or any kind of scholarships there. So it was kind of unfortunate because I was looking into film schools. I was looking also into Ohio University's film program. I feel like they have a really good screenwriting program, if I remember correctly. So I was looking into it. I definitely was, but nobody was really offering money except for Kent State. So since I got chosen for that, I was like, I'll go into fashion.
Okay, awesome. So you definitely dove into that because when you graduated, you went right to New York City, and I mean that's like there's Paris, Milan, New York. Like that's as far as the United States goes, that's the fashion center. So what influenced that? I mean, you dove right into the big pond. You didn't even.
Yeah. Honestly, being from a small town, it still surprises me that I even made it like the 3 years that I was there. But just to answer your question, at Kent State University, when I was going there, it was a requirement for graduation to do a study abroad program. And I actually was really interested in going to South Korea. I really wanted to go to South Korea, but COVID happened and that opportunity was unfortunately taken away. But there was an opportunity to go to New York still, and I was like, you know what? I've been to New York on just like trips, but I've never actually lived there. You know, it is the fashion mecca. So I definitely wanted to try my luck. I mean, I guess it was a very big, courageous decision on my end. I don't have any family in New York. I didn't really know anybody. So I wasn't going there with a backbone of any sort. I really was just going there on a dream. So I decided to go there for my study abroad. And then after spending a month or two there for to finish up my degree, I decided to stay because I really felt the opportunities there were really amazing. And even though the competition aspect of it is very visceral, like it really is a rat race, like how people say it's a rat race. You're constantly competing just to get on the subway in the morning, you're constantly competing to get to your workplace, you know, you are constantly budgeting. It's a constant survival mode type environment. So I always tell people, if you are interested in living in New York, please understand that it is a lot more of like a scratch and survive type environment if you're not wealthy. If you do come from a wealthy family or you are wealthy, then of course you can have like luxuries like a doorman, you know, or an elevator in your building, or you know, being able to get services for different things like your groceries. But if you really are kind of pinching pennies, I just want people to like desperately know that you will have to like survive, basically.
Yeah, I'm from upstate New York. I actually never went to the city other than the Port Authority, just
Mhm.
for buses, you know. But even just the East Coast in general, especially the northern half of it, is much more fast paced than the Midwest. Uh,
Yeah.
and I couldn't. I don't think I could adjust to New York City. Indianapolis was a lot for me, honestly. So that's. I mean, I my hat's off to you for that. That's amazing that you just went and did that.
Thank you.
So did you have? You mentioned you went there for your study abroad. Did that open up job opportunities when you actually decided to stay?
Yes, when I went there, I was determined. When I went there for my study abroad, I was determined to get an internship because I had been told that basically, if you don't have any experience in New York, it's very less likely for you to get a job outside of college. So I made sure that I got an internship, and I actually did find one. I worked with a fashion marketing group called the Canon Media Experience, and basically we worked together to do different shoots. Like I would help him with editorial work. The guy's name was Cannon, so it was his company, and I would help with editorial work. I actually did a Harper's Bazaar shoot with him. It was for the Kakistan edition, so it wasn't for the United States, but it was still really fabulous. And I, you know, got to work with brands that I've loved for years, like Chanel and, you know, like Versace, and these amazing houses that I have learned so much about in school. So being able to actually get to touch like some of these iconic brands clothes were really awesome for me. So I genuinely do thank I definitely genuinely do thank Canon for that opportunity to just be able to. And also I got to work at New York Fashion Week just behind the scenes. I was working as a dresser for Jason Wu, who is a designer out there, really fabulous guy, and also really fabulous clothes. So I am thankful for those opportunities. And because of that opportunity, I was able to get my first freelancing gig at J. Crew. So
Awesome.
yeah, it was awesome.
Very cool. And so you mentioned like helping to set up shoots and things of that nature and working in Fashion Week. I would assume that to an extent anyway, that sort of organization and viewing things through a lens kind of helps with the screenwriting and the film stuff. Does that translate over?
Yes, honestly, it does, because I feel like when you do work with clothes, you do have to constantly be thinking about the shot. You have to constantly be thinking about how things look on camera, how things translate on camera. And I feel like that is basically what a screenwriter slash what I also am very interested in directing, just to throw that out there. But and like a director does, is a director is in charge of so much, and they're really in charge of the look, the feel, the what is being translated just by a visual. And I feel like fashion kind of does the same thing, so maybe that's why I love both of them so much. Is I feel like you kind of are it's art that it's art that's very subjective, but it also like takes something out of every person that is very unique to them. So like just like if somebody watches a film for the first time, they're going to get something different than when somebody else watches it. So that's what I really love about like the language of fashion and film, is that they kind of intertwine in that aspect.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've done a very small amount of directing, and it really just the most important thing, which I didn't realize, you just have to have a vision when you go in there. As
Yeah,
as you can like set a stage, the actors and actresses will pretty much do what they need to do, and you
right.
kind of have to keep them on the right track. It's a really interesting give and take between the
Yeah,
actors and actresses for sure.
definitely.
So when I was doing research on you, there was things that I found that I honestly didn't understand, to be completely
Yeah,
honest. Like,
yeah.
so I can't even, I don't take notes because I prefer to just have conversations. So
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
yeah. So, but there was a job that you had in fashion, and I did not know what it was. Um, oh, creative something, maybe creative design or something like that.
You're probably talking about concept design with Ralph Lauren.
Yeah, yeah, I had no idea what that was. So,
Yeah, honestly, I had no idea what it was either until I actually found the job listing through a recruitment company, because that's usually how I got most of my jobs in New York, were through recruiting. And so basically, I had never heard of a concept design artist before, or somebody who does that for a company corporately. And basically, what that means is they are bringing the elements that are needed to start a line, if that makes sense. So basically, like they're bringing colors, they're saying, okay, I am researching our archives, I'm researching the trend reports right now, and these five colors are what is going to be projected to be the hottest colors of 2024, even though that year has already passed, but just to give an example. And, like also these fabrics are fabrics that we've used in the past. Our customers love these fabrics, that they really align with our brand equity. And brand equity basically just means like senses that kind of make you feel or make you remember a brand. Like when you think of like yellow and red, you think of McDonald's, or when you think of a crown or a burger sign, you think of Burger King. So those are like those are like tangible sense related type things that brands can use and brands can kind of do to get like people more excited, and also to recognize them like outside of the whole plethora of retailers. So basically, like that's what a concept designer would be doing, is kind of working on that brand equity from the past. Like I said, going through archives, going through trend reports, seeing what fabrics could be relevant for the mission or the like because like for example, if you're doing a line that is like men's plaid, like of course you're going to be looking towards the past as well as the future, so seeing what competitors are doing, seeing what everybody else is kind of doing with plaid, and seeing how you can elevate that. So it's just like a glorified researcher, somebody who is constantly researching to make sure that the line also aligns with the brand, but also is giving something new and fun, if that makes any sense.
yeah, no, it does. And I mean, honestly, it kind of sounds like even before the designs, like
Mhm.
of creating like a template for what the designs are going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very cool. That's
Yeah, I think so too. It's something that I genuinely had so much fun doing with Ralph Lauren. It was a job that I was very grateful to have. I was working under this man named I want to say his name was James Jeter. He's actually the creative director of Ralph Lauren, the first Black creative director.
oh,
So
wow.
that's really fabulous and awesome that I got to work under his tutelage for a little bit. But yeah, it was a really fabulous opportunity, of course, like working with a house like Ralph Lauren, but just to be able to work with color, to work with trend. I love trend. I love color. Those are things that I loved in college. So to be able to work with them, to be able to work with fabrics, to be able to go through the archives and see, what the past has shown us for Ralph Lauren and what kind of, all American brand that has already shown itself to be, it was awesome. So I would love to do concept design in the future, for other brands, and hopefully on the editorial side as well. I would love that.
Sure. So, sticking with the fashion for just a little bit longer,
Mhm.
have you done modeling, or do you just like to take really cool pictures?
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I am not I'm not a model because I'm so short. I'm only like 5 feet. So
Oh,
I know that most
yeah.
models have to be a little taller, but I just model for myself because mostly, the clothes that I want to model are my size, so it's just easier. And I felt like, I want to kind of think of myself as a model, even if I'm not the requirements of like an actual model. I was like, why don't I actually just like model in my own creative directed shoots? Because I do creative direct. That's something that a passion of mine that I've kind of figured out when I was working with Canon, and kind of like working on the editorial side of photo shoots and seeing how somebody directs a shoot and seeing how somebody brings their own creative elements to a brand that already has their own creative, stamp and image. So it's something that I really love. So thank you, first of all, for that, because I do work hard on my pictures. I do try to find some really talented, local, Cleveland, Akron people to work with. And I really love doing it. So I really hope that like one day I can do creative direction for other people and not just myself.
Well, I mean, honestly, the aesthetics of it. I mean, it looks like professional modeling photos for sure. Just, I mean, the poses that you do and I mean, the creative space. The use of space and stuff like that. I mean,
Thank
it's
you. That
fantastic.
means a lot to me, honestly. That means a lot because I'm not a model. So the idea of even just like giving a professional product, that's awesome to me. So I appreciate that so much, Keith.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I didn't see anything about you being a model, but I was like, there's no way she's not. Like, just
Yes, we'll speak that. We'll speak that one day, my height regarding it won't matter. So like we'll see, we'll speak that.
there's been Kate Moss and people like. I mean, the only person I
Yeah.
can really think of is Kate Moss, but I mean, she was like 5'1", so
Yeah.
been a few. Mila Jovovich isn't super tall, I don't think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, I love her. That's good points though. But we're gonna speak that it's gonna happen, one of these days.
Absolutely. So, when you were at Kent State, you
Yeah.
also wrote an article for their newspaper, I guess, the
Yeah.
paper. Um, and is writing something that you are interested in doing outside of just screenwriting? Like, because I mean, you're a published author from that article, So, have you pursued that more, or is that something else that you want to do? And if you want to speak a little bit on the subject uh,
Yeah, of
of the,
course.
because I mean, you should speak on it. So, yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you for even mentioning it. I know a lot of people don't know that I've done magazine work and that I've written like, articles for magazines. I did work for a black ran and black promoting magazine at Kent State University, sorry, called Uhuru, which is Swahili for freedom. And it was a really amazing magazine that was collectively ran by students of color. And I remember I did do a article about black androgyny for them that I did post on my Instagram page that I was really proud of because androgyny is something that I personally am really interested in. I feel like gender norms, of course, is a really hot topic these days, but I really do love the elements of fashion where gender does not truly exist, where we can like kind of see a unisex type of vibe. And I wanted to interview somebody at Kent State that was an actual person who participates in androgynous clothing and how they live their lives. So just to speak just kind of briefly on what that article was kind of about and who I was writing it for, but just to answer your question, I do would love to write more articles. I definitely have tried to apply to jobs for article writing and for things like that. It has not happened for me yet, but it's something that I'm really interested in. I really love media. Like as I grow older, I feel like magazines, books, movies, lookbooks, things like that. I feel like I'm really interested in as a passion of mine. So I feel like writing for a magazine like Paper Magazine has always been a magazine I've really looked up to as far as their aesthetics, as far as how they style and creative direct. I feel like I would love to be able to write an article for them. And of course, there's the Harper's Bazaars, the Vogues, but even if I did have a article on a very small, lesser known magazine, I feel like that would still make me really proud. So to answer your question, yes, I would love to do more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking on just for a moment, because I mean, why not? The
Mhm.
whole issue of androgyny and gender norms and things like that. I feel like so I'm 51,
Okay.
and I feel like my generation, because we grew up with David Bowie and Boy George and Michael,
Um,
and even like going into like the glam rock stuff, the glam metal, like Poison and Twisted Sister. I mean, uh, I feel like my generation is much more supportive
mm,
kids who are coming up who are having gender issues and things like that than the people prior to us, and much more so than the ones before that.
yeah.
I hope uh, I hope we are, at least. I know growing up, I wasn't really very athletic, but I also wasn't encouraged to do a lot. So I was kind of left to myself. And what I decided was I'm going to read a lot of books and play with action figures and have kind of adventures in my head. And because of that, everyone in my family thought I was gay.
Mm,
Like, I didn't ever show any attraction to men. I just wasn't like out playing in the dirt and like breaking.
right.
So that meant I had to be gay. And I just, the fact that things are different now, at least I really, really hope they are. And I know the generation before mine is still around, and some of them are not as supportive as we are, obviously. But I like to hope that Gen X is more open to younger people who need help and support.
Of course. I mean, I obviously cannot speak for all Gen X, but I do, just like, you can't speak for all of your generation, but I do feel like on both sides that there are people, from your generation and mine that really do just want people to feel comfortable within their bodies and feel beautiful within their bodies. So if that does mean, transitioning, if that does mean just wearing clothing that wasn't, like, I guess, necessarily marketed to your gender. I feel like that people just want others to feel good and to feel happy. So I do know that there's a lot of folks that I talk to on a regular basis that feel that way. So I know you probably know some people who feel that way as well.
Definitely. I have a 10-year-old son, and
Mm.
when he was a little bit younger, he was very, very into anything that was sparkly. And
Mm.
I like women's shoes and women's shirts and whatnot. And I never one time was like, you can't wear that because it's for a girl. I was like, if you like it, wear it. Now he's really into basketball and it's all jerseys and athletic shorts. But so he kind of moved away from it. But if he hadn't, if he still wanted to wear a blouse, I would totally get him a blouse. Like it was never even an issue. So
Yeah, and kind of like you were saying earlier about the 80s and like kind of times like that, some of the most like sought after guys were androgynous. Like I know I was a huge Prince, I'm still a huge Prince fan. But yeah, I loved him so much growing up and especially in high school, and I always really admired his ability to still be so masculine in his femininity. Like, and I respect when a man or anyone can still like play with both genders and still be true to themselves. So I always thought that was so funny is like, the guys that were wearing the heels and, the makeup and the jewelry were always like, getting all the girls or getting all the whoever. So it's like, people look down on that, but it seems like, they were the hot commodities of their time.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, so my friend Q and I have had this conversation before. Um,
Mm,
Once you reach a certain level of sexiness,
yeah.
gender isn't as much, you're just sexy. And I mean, I think Prince, Andre 3000, there's a
Yeah.
few people who have hit that level, and it's just like, it's just.
No, I agree. I mean, I feel like, and same with the women. Like, there are definitely some women who draw that line and are sexy just because they are, and that's just it.
100%. Yeah, I agree. So, when you mentioned that you were always interested in film,
Yes.
but you've done so much stuff in fashion. So while you were doing this stuff, was film still in the back of your mind, or were you still working on film, or how? What was that?
Yes. Yes, definitely. When I was actually in New York, I did meet a writing group through a 48-hour project. I know that they do things kind of like that here in Cleveland, in the Cleveland Akron area. But the 48-hour project, basically, for anybody who doesn't know, is like when a group or a team of people, a crew of people, get together for 48 hours and create a film. And it's usually submitted into a competition, and then people vote, and whoever wins, you get a prize. If it probably is money, if not a trophy or accolades, bragging rights, whatever. But I was actually a part of a 48-hour project in New York, where I got my very first IMDb credit for a film called Swords into Plowshares. I don't blame you if you didn't find that. That's like kind of in the cut. It's very much in the cut. But it was my very first IMDb credit, and I was the sole writer on that film. So it was a short film, like I said, maybe like 10 minutes long, but I was still always keeping film in the back of my head. I was always still working on some personal projects behind the scenes. But I had also like put in my mind, if I do ever go back to school, if I do ever go back into the educational route, I do want to go for film. And I do want to really take that more seriously as far as an educational route, because there are people who obviously are not educated, who have made amazing films, who are amazing directors and screenwriters. So I'm not saying, that is something you have to do to be successful. But I genuinely would love to be a director that understands every single angle of filmmaking, from the editing to the framing of the shot to even the music aspect, like how music can be used and how music can't be used to like get a point across. So film has always been a love of mine, even though I've been kind of booming in the fashion aspect of my life. But film has always been there. So that's why I feel like this year I've really been kind of like digging my heels more into film, especially since I'm back home in Akron, and I really want to still like prove to people that even though if you're not in a big city like New York, you can still make something happen, and it can still happen for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that you mentioned music because I
Mhm.
think music is something that a lot of independent films are lacking.
Okay.
When you watch more, like if you watch even like a mid-level Hollywood film
Yeah.
playing almost constantly, you don't even
Mhm.
notice it. It's just there behind it, setting the mood. And sometimes when I'm watching an indie film, it'll feel like there's so much space and it's
Yeah.
not drawing me in. And I'll be like, oh, it's because there's no music. So
Yeah.
I really think that that's something that independent filmmakers need to pay more attention to is making sure that there's music and not just playing just randomly, but
Yeah.
music that actually involve you in the scene. Like it's very important.
Oh
Um,
yeah, like that's what I like to tell people is every single detail is so important in a film, because there are times where filmmakers have not used music and it was extremely impactful for the scene and like for what was trying to be conveyed. So like you said, it's just really knowing and having that skill and that talent of really knowing when to take away, when to add. And even like with screenwriting, because I feel like sometimes something that I even find myself falling into is sounding like myself when I'm writing a character.
yeah,
Like you want to make sure like that, like somebody even told me like that's a sign of a bad writer is when you can hear their voice through every single character. So like kind of being able to take that criticism and just being able to be like, okay, like I don't want to be a bad writer. So how can I diversify these voices?
yeah.
That makes sense.
I definitely so so I was gonna get involved in film. I had a concept that I just thought was really, really good, and I hired someone to write the script because I had the concept, but I didn't feel confident that I could actually write a script. Um, Making a film, first of all, kudos to everyone who does it. Like it's so crazy. Um,
Mm.
but it just ended up not being for me. But when the script was returned to me, I actually cried.
Wow.
Um, the person who I hired, and I don't know whether this has anything to do with it, but they were non-binary,
Mm.
and they did such a good job of capturing all these individual voices. None of the characters shared, they didn't seem like each other in any way, shape, or form. Like everyone had a very distinct personality, and it was very much like what I had in my head. And it was amazing. So yeah, I mean that's definitely something that needs to be developed. Like if I read it and I had been like, well, Jake sounds just like Sarah, and Sarah sounds just like,
Yeah.
been like, hey, you might want to work on this a little more. So
Yeah, yeah. I just only bring that up to say like I'm learning, I'm growing. Like, like I I can always look at myself and say, okay, this is what I need to work on. And I say that to say, somebody like me who's still growing in the industry versus somebody who is a very experienced writer, like the person you were speaking about. I would just like to implore to anybody watching this who may be in my shoes, who are not as seasoned or not as not doesn't have as much finesse as somebody who has like been there for a while or even not, is to keep writing, keep practicing, keep working through your screenplays that you already have on your writing samples, because things like that can be taught. But also, like, if you have that passion to learn and have that passion to grow, then you will grow. So just to give that to somebody who may be watching this saying like, oh, I do that too, or I'm not as strong as I want to be, please keep writing and keep going. So
yeah, I mean that's actually I was gonna say at the end.
oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I had one more sentence, but
Okay.
it's cool that you've recognized that or been shown that and that you're working on it. You know,
Yeah.
definitely a skill that needs to be acquired. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
so I think personally, just from talking to you this little bit and obviously seeing your pictures and whatnot, you're very charismatic.
Thank
Um, you're welcome. Would you ever be interested in doing something on the other side of the camera, like as far as acting or?
Yes, yes. Actually, I am trying to get into acting. I am doing auditions. So I do love acting. Like I'm trying to just like explain is I there's so many elements of the film industry that pique my interest, and there's so much talent in acting. Acting really is a medium and I'll just use the word medium, is a medium that I feel like I want to get better at because of how much I respect actors. And I definitely want to be on the other side of the camera. So I want to do all of it. I would love to be able to screenwrite. I would love to direct. I'd love to act in somebody's stuff. So yeah, I would definitely love that.
That's very cool. Yeah, acting is it's sometimes it's hard to tell like what makes a good actor, but when I was on the set, I didn't feel like I was on a set. I felt
Mm,
people fall in love. And that I mean, I guess that's it. You don't feel like they're presenting something. You feel like it's happening.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how to grasp a hold of that. I don't know where that comes from, but it's a deal for sure. Um so do you have any projects that you're working on right now, or
Um,
acting, or
yes, I
anything?
yes, of course. I am working on a I'm working as a script supervisor for that, so I will definitely, once some things are a little bit more set in stone, I'll obviously put that on my Instagram. Can I please plug my Instagram? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, please look me up on Instagram at yours with a small y, a lowercase y, yours 1123. There you can find my creative direction. You can find any film stuff that I'll be working on. I also have an art page on there that you can check out some of the behind the scenes for things. I also have just put out a fashion line, so that is also on my page just to look out and see what I'm doing. So yeah, I am working. I am working. I am trying to audition, trying to get in somebody's work so I can like grow and be a better actor. So yeah, please follow me on Instagram to see all the things I'm working on.
absolutely, and we'll put that in the description. So if
Okay.
people don't have to pause the video and well,
No, I appreciate that so much.
no problem. So you launched the fashion line.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, it's very new. It's very new. It's a streetwear brand. It's called Mad Avenue. And yeah, I actually put out my first it wasn't my show, but I was a part of a fashion show where I debuted my line for the first time. It was in June 25th. It's very new, very fresh. I'm still working on the website. So yeah, please look out for that on my page. We have some great streetwear things coming out for you guys. So I'm excited.
Very. So will that be something that people can purchase online? Are you
Yes, that'll be something. I'm working on the website now so it can look fabulous for you guys. But yes, everything should be on the website for you to pre-order so I can make sure I have everybody's information.
Very cool. Very, very cool. All right. Well, Maya, thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Yeah.
And thank you for your patience with me again. I appreciate it so much.
Yes. Well, honestly, hello viewers. Thank you for listening. It was so fabulous speaking with you today, Keith. But yes, I will definitely be back if you ever want me back. This was a fabulous experience, and thank you again for
But
just wanting to talk to little old me. So
well, I appreciate. I put out the call and then you responded, so I
yeah,
appreciate. I
of
appreciate
course.
that. Love. And this is the first time I've ever had. Well, that's not true. Second time I've had someone involved in fashion.
Awesome.
The other person was much more. She was a musician and an actress more than fashion, so it was really cool to get to talk about something that I never really dove into before. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, before we go, I want to thank Tyler Martin and Emmy Studios. Man, I'm so sorry that I'm getting this to you so close to when you have to put it out. Uh, that's my producer, but please, Tyler, have patience with me. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much to all of my viewers and listeners. We grow every week, man, and that's something that's so cool to me. Um, and Maya, thank you once again, Mya Davis, for coming on and talking to me. This has been so great. I appreciate
Thank you. Thank you for extending your platform to me and for allowing me to meet your listeners. I'm so grateful.
it. All right, and speaking of my listeners, please come back next week. We're going to be talking to Jordan Blue, and then on the 31st, we will be doing our first ever live broadcast to raise awareness for David Roach, the singer for Junkyard, who has a really terrible form of cancer, to be completely honest, and he's just kind of needs to be comfortable, while he deals with it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can help him out. So we're going to be talking about that on our first ever live broadcast on the 31st. So everybody keep that stuff in mind. Thank you so much for checking us out. And we'll be back next week with more Most Excellent Entertainment.